Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Back Porch Writer, the show for writers, about writers, and writing, with your host, Corey Miller. Call Corey at 646-716-5063. Follow the show online at Blog Talk Radio and Facebook. Now, it's time to chat with the Back Porch Writer. Welcome to Back Porch Writer, the show for writers, about writers, and writing. I'm your host, Corey Miller. Today is May 6, 2014, and it's shaping up to be quite a gorgeous day. It's about 60 degrees out. You know, I always have to give you the weather report. It's very, very sunny out. So this is, in my opinion, perfect weather. This is what spring is supposed to be. You start a little cool and it stays around this temperature. Later it's going to be 80-something, but I'll still be outside because I have lots and lots of things I need to do outside in my garden area. I'm getting some things revamped and all that. I did some experimenting last year and it didn't go so well. So I'm changing things up again this year, and hopefully things will be better. So I've got tons of planting to do. So that's what my afternoon will be. I have some writing to do, of course. But, you know, it'll all get done. That's the way it all works. It'll all get done, everything in its time. Let me tell you what is coming up on the show. My guest today is A.K. Kuykendall, Aaron Kuykendall, and he's the author of several books. I'm going to have him on in just a couple minutes to tell us all about his books and what he's doing and some exciting news that he has that I'm sure he'll love to share. But next week I've also got Vashti Kuykendall coming on, and she's a middle grade author, and her book's called The Basement. And I haven't read it only because I'm afraid to read it. To be perfectly honest, I think it might be kind of scary. So we'll see. See if she can convince me that I should actually read it. You know, I get really sensitive about things that I read at night. I can't read that stuff at night. It'll keep me up, and I'll start dreaming about it. Oh, no, I can't do that. But anyway, Vashti's been on the show before. She's just a wonderful person to talk with and lots of fun. So she'll be on the show on May 13th. And on May 20th, I've got Michelle Troxclair. She is an amazing spoken word artist in the Omaha, Nebraska area, and she works with a group called the Wordsmiths, among other things. She's just constantly go, go, go. So she'll be on the show to talk about everything she's doing. I'm very excited about that. And Gabriella, I skipped this. We do have our Q&A on Sunday, May 18th with Gabriella Pereira. So that'll be the 18th. Mother's Day is still up in the air. You know, the Sunday shows, sometimes I have them, sometimes I don't. Depends if I have a guest or if I really have something you all need to know about, and then I'll do a Sunday show. But, you know, May 11th is Mother's Day, so I may not do that show. May 27th, I have actress and author Mara Pearl coming on the show, and some of you might remember Mara Pearl from her days on Days of Our Lives. She was the actress who played Darla Cook. So that's very exciting. So she'll be on the show right after Memorial Day here in the States. So lots of great things happening right here on Back Porch Writer. Lots of fun stuff. So I was out looking things over on the Internet, as I frequently do, and I was over on Facebook and came across some interesting stuff over there. It was a PBS article, and so I'll find it in a second. I just lost the article I was looking at, so now I have to go back and find it. So I'll get that in a second. Also, I found over on Feedly 4 hacks you should know before you craft your next email subject line. That was really interesting. I don't know about you, but I get a ton of email. And one of the things, you can go find this article yourself, but it was 4 hacks you should know before you craft your next email subject line. One of them had to do with including the person's first name or first and last name in the email, and that would get their attention. Another thing was making sure your subject lines are under a certain word length so that it goes across various platforms, Droid, iPhone, and all of that. I hadn't given that much thought. But back on that name thing, here's what's funny to me. While there is the turnover rate, according to this article, that people will open those emails, I tend to delete those emails right away. So I must be that outlier or something, because I know automatically the person doesn't know me. And so I'm not responding to those emails. So I find that pretty funny. And I wonder how many other people out there are just like me in that regard. You know, do they just ignore that? But at any rate, that's pretty funny. So I'm perusing here, and I'll find that PBS article, and I'll mention it. As soon as I find it, I'll mention it back on the air. But in the meantime, Twitter has a new header feature, so you can check that out. That's kind of cool. So I went over to a site called quotescover.com, and you can create quotes for your header for your Twitter header. You can do other things there too, but I thought that was pretty cool. Quotescover.com. You can go over there, create that header, and then put it over on your Twitter page and have a little bit of fun because, I like to do all that weird geeky stuff because I think it's awesome. All right, so let me get our guest on the show. He is a busy, busy man and very creative writer. Mr. Kuykendall, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome back, Porch Writer.
Thank you.
So I was looking up all of your information, and there's just a ton. You're just busy, 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 busy. So I'm going to start with, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and your writing and why you write.
All right. Well, I'm a corporate executive chef by trade. I've been writing since I can remember, since I was a teenager, actually under 14. And I've just always been a creative spirit at heart. One of those avid 80s movies buffs. I've seen pretty much everything since, even from one of my favorites was Little Monsters with Fred Savage. And my second all-time favorite is The Last Starfighter. That's the type of creative mind that I usually have, because I look at that as fact-based fiction. They're trying to tell you something in their writing. But as a corporate chef, my love of food has always been there, and I fostered that throughout my time. But I've never given up on the written word. I've always used to tell myself, my family, as well as my employees, that you never know when a story idea would turn into $1 million. So just keep going. So while I've been working, my 9 to 5 usual, going to work every day in my usual shtick, I would always constantly write, whether it's 1 word or 2 words a day. As long as I have some words cranking on my typewriter, I was in a good place. And after a while, I got myself nestled into a very good place, and the rest is history.
So what was the first book that you published?
First book that I published was Writer's Block: The Possession. It was published through, actually not Writer's Block: Possession, it was a book. At first it was titled Fierce Chicanery, but it was actually changed later on to be known as the Conspirators Odyssey series. And I published that through a notable author's mill by the name that most of the writers out there might know of, named Publish America. It was Conspirators Odyssey Book 1, The Evolution of the Patron Saint. And I only did that in a strategy to get my name out there and start to build an author profile, whereas before then I was completely invisible. And then after a while, I had plans on just buying my rights back, which I did. And then it was picked up by a traditional publisher by the name of Interprint Publishing to be reprinted. And because of the popularity there, recently my agent, Donald Mass of DMLA out of New York, acquired a 4-book deal for 4 more books in the Conspirators Odyssey series. And prior to
congratulations on that, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. I was blown away all the way around. But even before that, I was picked up. My horror trilogy was picked up by Decent Hill Publishers in 2012, and then 2013, my Conspirators Odyssey series, The Evolution of the Patron Saint Book 1, was republished by Interprint, and of course, I had an agent after that with Donald Maas. And then, of course, Reed Publishing, and everything else is downhill. Now I'm under the weight of timelines and deadlines, which I've never been under before. So you can see, you and your audience can tell that I'm very nervous right now.
I was taking it as excited.
I'm excited, nervous, and all. It's like you're trying to get all these ideas out of your head, and you're trying to write every day. And of course, I'm a father of 3. I'm a husband. You just got so many things on your plate, and I haven't made enough money to support my family by writing to the point where I can write full time. So of course, I'm still in the executive grind, and then writing, as many hours as I can a day. So it's not like I'm wedging myself into the Dean Koontz, Stephen King category yet, because they're writing full time, so they can crank out books yearly. Me, I'm maintaining my bills and my career while I'm blasting off into this whole new field of writing, which I love more than anything.
Now, I didn't realize that you wrote horror, but when I was looking up the books that you have on your website, I was looking more at these conspirators ones. So what are those about? Because I read, blend of fact and fiction. Okay, here's my real question. If I read it, is it going to scare me and keep me up?
Yes, it will.
It will.
Because remember, my website, www.writerofbooks.com, is aptly known as the site where truth reads through fiction. So there are serious layers, very, very real layers of truth in any and everything that I write. No matter how I approach the written word, I'm actually speaking to those true truth seekers out there.
So, okay, if I don't want to be kept up at night, which book should I read?
I would say go with the Conspirators Odyssey series if you don't want to be kept up at night. But the concept alone in my the first book of my trilogy, Writer's Block, it deals with writers, because I always thought that was a great name, even to call it Writer's Block, because it deals with the most famous horror author in the world. But that horror author, through his bloodline, happens to be fated to tell or the right of the end of days. And it's a pretty very descriptive novel that will keep you up at night if you go through it. I say read it with the light on.
I don't sleep much as it is. I've mentioned that on the show before with other people I've had on that write like horror and things like that. Because I actually really like scary movies, not gory movies, but things that psychological thriller, scary type stuff. But I have to watch it during the day so I can process through it.
Even during the day, it still affects you. I mean, I've been in love with that ever since I was young. I mean, I'm the one of those kids, the creative kids that used to never like white on my wall. So I would have these horror and slasher magazines. I would tear from them and paste them on my wall along with my Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street posters, and I had them everywhere. And I really didn't like, during the weekend, from grade school, during the weekend, I never liked light in my room. I wanted to be like a coffin. So I would take my sleeping bag, unzip the whole thing, and then nail it to my window to get rid of any cracks in the window so I can just have my own little coffin, during the weekend. I just wanted to close myself off from the world during the weekend, and that's where all my creativeness came from.
Wow. Okay, I wouldn't be able to sleep in that environment. That'd be
Yeah, but I've been stewing in creativity for a long time. It was only, and of course I talk. My mother always says I talk too much. You make a perfect writer because you never shut up. That's quote unquote.
So tell me about, how did you get your agent?
Oh, my agent. Actually, it's a very funny story. I don't suggest this to anyone, but I've been rejected by agent after agent. I'm sure you are in many of your audiences, the writers out there that you do what I consider like a quasi public service announcement to assist us writers, get out there. And I've been turned down by so many agents. I tried to go it alone with publishers and, sending queries to publishers and whatnot, turned down by them, hands down. They would always say, you need a traditional agent. And I was actually going back and forth between trying to, send queries to agents as well as send queries to publishers, but just no one would bite, no matter if I thought my story was great or good. So that's where I came up with the concept where I wanted to go through an author's mill, and then I put thousands of dollars behind a publicist. Penny C. Sansevieri was my publicist that I put money behind to get my name out there and try to build a profile, because it seems like I can't get noticed by a publisher or agents without something, my name being somewhere out there in the ether. So therefore I used that strategy and it happened to work. But it's really funny, whereas I had a deal that was on the table, a 4-book deal that was on the table, and I had no representation. And I already worked 3 traditional book deals without any backup, without any, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to read contract law. I don't know what I'm looking for unless I go out there and retain an attorney just to evaluate everything, which takes too long. So that's neither here nor there. I don't want to bore you with that. But the day that I was supposed to have a phone conference with this new publisher that wanted to acquire 4 more books in the Conspirators Odyssey series, I did not want to do it alone, and I was scared to death, and I was so panicked that I got on the phone and I started calling every agency, top agency in the world, from New York, Atlanta, Georgia. I was everywhere, just calling. And I don't know if I'm doing any disparages on my agent, because he happens to be one of the best, a top agent out of New York, named Donald Mas. But when I called the DMLA, Donald Mas Literary Agency, for some reason he picked up. And I was panicking. I was hyperventilating. I was like, okay, I don't mean to bother you, sir. My name is A.K. Kuykendall. I'm a traditionally published author. I had to just throw all those disclaimers out there as fast as I possibly can, just to get him to just not hang up on me. And and I told him about, I'm a traditional published author. I have books out there already currently, and I got this deal on the table, and they're offering me thousands of dollars here, and I don't know if I should be taking the money, should not be taking the money. But I don't care about percentages. I don't care about what you get. I just need assistance. I cannot do another deal on my own. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to continue to keep going in this little cycle that I kept thinking I was in. I was in this cycle, and it was nothing. It was like a rut. And he said, okay, calm down. I want you to send me the proposal that they sent you, and I want you to send your current contracts that you have now. And he said that don't worry about anything. I will call you right back. Now, I thought it was a blow-off, so I kept on talking. I kept on rambling. And right before when he got that proposal, he got my concurrent contracts, and then he read samples of my work. He read the current work that was out there. He fell in love with my writing, and about 3 weeks later, I had I signed, and it wasn't signed with one of his agents at the Donald Mas Literary Agency. It was actually signed with the CEO and president himself, Donald Mas. I'm a part of his list. And that's a huge deal.
That's a huge deal.
That's a huge deal. And then shortly after, about 2 to 3 weeks after that time of signing, I had a 4-book deal, which the first book in the under this new publisher I'm working on now, entitled Origins, which is book 2 in the Conspirators Odyssey series. And if your audience goes to www.writerofbooks.com, they can read a synopsis, a very detailed synopsis on Origins, book 2 in the Conspirators Odyssey series. So that's in a nutshell. I hope I didn't bore your audience or bore you with that, but that's how it worked. I don't advise that for anyone. I literally got lucky after years and years of rejections. I literally got lucky. I just threw myself out there in the rawest fashions, in the rawest form, and I actually had someone actually listen to me, and I'm very grateful to Mr. Mas for listening to me. And I said, you ain't got to sign me. I'll give you a percentage. I'll give you whatever you want, just to assist me with this one contract, just this one contract. But later on, he said, I don't work that way. Your writing is very sharp, and I think I can work with you. And boom, and on my wall in frame, a professional frame, I got his John Hancock on an author agent agreement.
That's a great story. So, but don't you think that, the whole writing and publishing industry, there's a whole lot of luck involved in it. Besides, there's a lot of work in it. We all know that. If you're writing seriously, you're working your tail off. But there is definitely a certain amount of luck involved.
I believe so. I believe so. I believe so, but I don't really believe in luck. It's just I wasn't getting nowhere. No matter my first novel was the Conspirators Odyssey series. It's the first book. I wrote that before I wrote my second novel, which was the first book in the Writer's Block trilogy. And I was getting beat down, because no one would take a look at my words, no one. And and after years of putting money behind editorials, I did everything. I went to book doctors, and even with Writer's Block, which is I consider one of my my favorites, the Writer's Block concept. And I put a lot of money. I'm talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars behind that work for editorials, because I just didn't want those words to go out there without being guided, by someone that knew how to put the process together. And Stephen King's first editor, his name was Michael Garrett, and he's out there, a very costly editor, book doctor. he actually accepted my work to edit. He don't just take anyone's work to edit unless he sees merit behind it. And he took my work on. He took my work on and gave me all the advice that I needed. And then my second book doctor was William Greenleaf, and you know how costly that book doctor is. But he took it to that next phase, and after that next phase, I locked in on a 3-book deal with Decent Hill Publishers for that concept. But no one would actually take a look at me before I decided to use strategy in order to get myself out there. So what I did was search the World Wide Web, and you know there's a lot of con artists out there. There's a lot of book meals out there. There's a lot of people just taking advantage of people like us that are struggling to get our words out there and just to, wedge ourselves into the position where Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Rick Hartula is currently, where they can sit back and they can write for a living and earn and make a living and take care of their family with what they're earning with their words. I wanted to be in there, just like so many other writers do want to be in there. So I just thought it needed some strategy. So no one knew my name. No one knew that I wrote under a nom de plume. No one knew anything about me. So I decided to give my story, Conspirator's Odyssey, away. I practically gave it away to an author's mill by the name of Publish America. And then I only did that as a strategy just to get my name out there. And then I hired, for thousands of dollars, I hired a top-tier publicist by the name of Penny C. Sansevieri of author marketing experts to highlight my words, my work, as well as my name. I wasn't looking to sell books. I wasn't looking to do any of that stuff because that would only embolden this author's mill. I was only mainly doing that to bolster my name and to get my profile or build an author profile, and it worked. And then after a while, I bought my rights back from Publish America. I said goodbye to them. I never looked back. And then with not the one that I had published, but Writer's Block was picked up by months later. Was picked up by the 3-book deal was offered to me by Decent Hill. And then shortly after, that was in 2012, and then to the early 2013, Interprint Publishing wanted to republish Conspirator's Odyssey, at which I had published with the Author's Mill. And then after that, then I got an agent, and then the 4-book deal came along. And I feel like I'm in a very good place right now, and very close to becoming a full-time writer. Very close.
I have a question from somebody in the chat room, and she wants to know, when you're doing the fact and the fiction, is he mixing it from his actual life or ours, or just within the story for his characters? She just wants a little more detail about that, how you're actually combining fact and fiction.
Well, I would say go to my website. You can find anything you need to know about that. But to answer the question, it is just with any author, our lives are intertwined into our work. My characters, my protagonists primarily are women. That's because of my upbringing and my love and respect for my mother. It's a long story that you can actually detail on my website or read on my website. But fact-based fiction is part of my shtick. It's the way that I approach words because of the way that I was brought up. When it comes down to religions, the fact-based continuity in religions, or when it comes down to these conspiracies that are out there, one of the biggest being the John F. Kennedy assassination, where people throughout for over 60 years, they focused on the who, what, when, where, and how. But if you ever just search your mental cortex and think about it just take a deep breath and think about it, has anybody really ever explored the reasons behind, meaning the why behind the John F. Kennedy assassination? I discovered the why behind his assassination, and it's connected in history in more ways than you can shake a stick at. Which the next book in the Conspirator's Odyssey series also takes you back to 1917 with a real incident, clandestine incident that happened, and a German fighter pilot by the name of Richthofen, commander of the Jasta 11's Rittmeister, which is better known to us, you and I, in history as the Red Baron. He actually shot down a UFO in 1917, exactly March 13th, 1917. So when I say fact-based fiction, I literally mean fact-based fiction. But the percentage either way, I will never tell. It's up to the reader to figure that out. because many people in history have been talking to us through their works. Say like like writers such as myself, like producers, film directors, etc. We've been doing this for years, preparing the masses what we call for the inevitable. So if you think back to, I have an old spirit. So if you think back to Rod Serling's 1959 to 1964 series, The Twilight Zone, or the Mercury Theater's October 30th, 1938 broadcast of The War of the Worlds over the Columbian Broadcasting System radio, where actor Orson Welles continues to frighten me, I knew then that in order to shake the psyche and affect the consciousness of my brethren, I would have to do it today just like they did back then. And I revel in my approach to literature because no matter how entertaining my story may be, there are very thick layers of truth riddled in behind every word. And many authors have been doing this for years, even going back to Leonardo da Vinci. And even when he did his paintings and his writings in his day, we are just now discovering the truths behind his paintings and writings today. Same scenario, no difference.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left. How much research do you do for your books?
Extensive. Unfortunately, I have to do what you call a poor man's research. My research has something to do with the wonderful world of the World Wide Web, as well as I live in libraries. No matter what city I visit for book tours or whatnot, I live in libraries, and the bigger the better. Grand libraries, I just love them, and swimming through the encyclopedias of these grand libraries and books that pretty much people don't really, frequent enough to the point where you open them up and they crack because they're so brand new. Because I love sniffing the middle of library bookshelves. It's weird.
I used to love to go into
my favorite places. Exactly, libraries are my favorite places. But my research is extensive, and I research in certain angles and avenues that most people don't do it. But I call it a poor man's research because I'm not able, like Dan Brown and Dean Koontz and Rick Artula and Stephen King, I'm not able to take off into other countries and other cities and states in order to research my subject matter. I have to rely on case files, and that's my poor man's research.
That works.
And it works. It's working for me. It works for me.
One more quick question from the person in the chat room. She wants to know if the book doctors, did they correct a lot of the formal English? Did they change your writing style or your voice? Did they do anything like that? And you've had about 30 seconds.
No, they did not. They, at first I thought they were because, as someone that's never been guided by an editorial hand, I actually was territorial over every word. But I knew I wasn't. I'm an artist. An artist just spits on the page, where editors' primary duty is to clean it up, organize it, format it, make it more real, make it more, palatable. So they, but my experience is that they never really jeopardized with my voice, and everything else technical I was okay with. But long as they just didn't take away my voice, that was the perfect editor for me. And Michael Garrett and William Greenleaf were two of the best editors I could ever have. Well worth the money. That's only if you can afford it. We're trying to make money with our words, and I've been spending thousands over the years, and I haven't broke even yet.
Well, it'll take time. I own a couple businesses. It takes a little time to break even and then to make a profit, but it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for being with me on the Back Porch Writer Show.
Well, thank you for having me.
And you're welcome to come back anytime. Keep me posted on how things are going.
I will.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Some exciting stuff. I'm afraid to read horror. We all know that. I like it, but it keeps me up. But I'm gonna check out some of this stuff and see if it terrifies me too much to sleep. I did find what I was looking for. It's 10 skills to thrive in today's job market, and you can check that out over on nextavenue.org. 10 skills to thrive in today's job market. I have to tell you, having spent many years doing job skills training, not much has changed. It's all about people skills. So get out there and be people skill oriented, and you'll have some great success. So thank you for joining me on Back Porch Writer, the show for writers, about writers, and writing. Again, I'm your host, Corey Miller. Until next time, pull up a chair, sit a spell, and write.